Our guest joins us in studio on a monthly basis, and we talk about issues related to Idaho Fish and Game. Oddly enough, though, I got a chance to see him just a couple of weeks ago out at the fairgrounds during a luncheon to announce the lineup and various events and activities. Actually, Kelton. I got a note yesterday from someone with a fair. We're going to talk a little bit. I've got to get back to them, get them on the air to talk to them a little bit about those belt buckles and other things they're selling this year.
Yes, for our centennial.
Yeah,
So
which is coming up.
yeah, I'm putting on two hats today because I'm here for Fish and Game, but I'm also on the fair board, and so this is my fair board hat. Yes, and so we've got key fobs. It's a nice little medallion that talks about the 100-year centennial. We've got belt buckles, and they've got commemorative coins and a whole bunch of stuff. But I'll get a hold of John and see if we can't get John and.
Yeah, I got it. Like I say, I got an email last night. I looked it over and I haven't gotten back to it yet, but that belt buckle's huge. It might actually be able to hold in my belly.
Yeah, so, well, yeah,
Straight out of World Wrestling Federation.
yeah, they're good looking belt buckles, and so
Although they don't
it's
call it Federation any longer. Someone's going to call up and say that I'm way behind the
yeah,
times.
it's actually a dinner plate size, or hubcap or whatever people joke about those belt buckles, but they're a gorgeous piece of art, and so but they're collectors, and there's I think 100 of them numbered, and then they'll go on from there, but the first 50 or 100 are numbered, so
And they'll never wear out.
no.
Yeah, that's the great thing about
Because
the
it's
belt
rubbing
does.
against your belly.
Yes. Well, your belly will wear out,
Your
but
belly might, but
yeah. 8 minutes after 9 o'clock, 65. Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game joining us in studio this morning. You're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com with Bill Colley. And of course, Kelton can take some of your telephone calls during the course of the hour. But right off the top, a couple of things. You were mentioning the fire situation coming in the door.
Oh, it's just, yeah.
In just a week's time, really, too.
Well, yeah, I was surprised that it didn't kick off earlier because we've had such huge lightning, shows in the evening for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was a pretty tough deal. I think at one time they had almost 6 fires just burning to the west of us, and right now we have close to 21 fires in the state, and we've got fires all across the state. The biggest one right now is the Soda Butte fire, and they're like 90% contained, and it's over 300, right around 300,000 acres. You weren't here for we had the Murphy Complex fire that was another big fire. It's about 600,000 acres, and that was about 5-6 years ago. But some of that area that burnt then also got smoked this year out there by what was it? I'm trying to remember the name of it now. It's just on the tip of my tongue, out by Balanced Rock and out through that area. And so, no, I guess the thing is with hunting season, we're not seeing it really affect a lot of our seasons right now. Yes, it's going to affect some people and where they go. But right now it's not closing any of the seasons down. The big thing I want to warn hunters, or just stress to hunters if they can, is just be really, really careful out there. Number one, if you're way out in the woods, you kind of need to be aware of your surroundings, because if one of these lightning storms do come up, things are just tinder dry right now. So, but keep your baffles and your spark arresters on your ATVs and motorcycles, and then don't park your vehicles off the trail in the deep grass and stuff like this, because it's really easy to kick these fires off, and so just be careful out there and have some fun.
I don't use tobacco, and I don't have anything against people who do, but really that's the other end of this too. If you're out there,
It is, cigarettes, as well as campfires and things like that. You have to be just so careful, and I know that they've got a lot of fire restrictions on right now, and you still see people out there. I'm camping, I'm going to start a fire, and so just use some common sense this time of year, because think the last thing I looked at, it was almost 400,000 acres are burning or have burnt this year in Idaho.
and there was a fire NATO the other day too, as well, kicked off by one of these.
Yes, and so yeah, and they do create their own weather patterns inside these fires, especially when they get in the timber. It's just they're just so explosive and so quick, and so it'd be nice if we could get a little bit of precip to help slow some of them down a little bit. But
Yeah, probably not until November.
yeah, but I think some of them will be put out by snow.
Yeah, that's
And
a good
so,
sign.
and so, but no, so just warning folks to be cautious. If you want to, We've got an interactive website on at fishandgame.idaho.gov. You can go on there and it will talk about. You can log on there, check your hunting areas out, and it will tell you whether your area is on fire or if there's a fire in that area and what cautions, uh, what things you need to do to be able to go in there and hunt. Believe it or not, we got a ton of hunting seasons going on right now. A little warm, but we've got lots of pronghorn antelope hunters out there. Archery's going on. It started on the 15th. We've got a lot of elk hunts, early cow hunts, and we got some bull hunts going on out in the desert as well as the South Hills. And so there's a lot of elk seasons. We got a few deer hunts going on down in over above Boise as well as down by Burley. Some great animals are being harvested, and so we got lots of folks out and about.
We have a caller with us.
Oh,
Kelton
great.
Hatch is our guest. He's in the studio with us throughout the hour. And our telephone number, if you'd like to reach him, 736-0300. And you're up next on News Radio 1310 KLIX. What's on your mind?
That phone number is accurate because that's the same phone number I called.
Excellent.
So, when you're talking about fires, they need to check the state closure too. There are some areas that are closed now to fires, open fires only in designated areas. So that's another one they need to bring forward.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
I want to mention too, of course, as well that even a small fire you may even have at your home, sparks from that can be really dangerous this time of year.
Well, and the thing is, it seems like every year we see somebody dragging a rig down the interstate. A bearing goes out, lights up, a mile and a half of road before they realize. And so, I mean, you just need to have everything in good working order, and we just need to be, like this gentleman said, you really need to check with the Forest Service and the BLM and check these sites. We don't govern any of the fires. The only reason I'm even talking about fires is because I'm concerned about sportsmen getting out there and being able to hunt. But you need to really check with those governing agencies on this federal and state lands to see what's going on with the fire precautions and whether you can use chainsaws and things like that right now.
Because if you're out actually hunting or fishing, and let's say fishing, for instance, and you turn around suddenly and realize something's approaching, you may not have any exit.
Yes, and that's true. And I've been up in the hills where I've been around hunters, and I've seen fires started in camps completely accidentally, but then a lot of times they're liable for the cost of putting out those fires. So be just really, really cautious when you're out there.
You have something on the list today called second chance tags. And of course, we're talking about the fact you got numerous seasons going on right now, but what is a second chance tag?
Well, we had our controlled hunt draws about a month ago, and people had the month of last month to purchase those permits. If they didn't purchase a permit they drew, those tags went back up for a draw again, so people could buy chances to get or put in. It's not really buying chances, but they can put in for a permit. Those results will be out tomorrow. So if you put in for a second chance tag, the second draw, you'll know tomorrow. You should know tomorrow whether that's what we're anticipating right now. Not tomorrow. What is today? Today's Thursday. Oh, today's Thursday. So it will be out by Friday. I was thinking today was Wednesday. I'm a day late and $1 short typically. And so those hunts will be out by then, so people can know what's going to happen for this fall for them, and whether they're lucky enough to draw one of the coveted controlled hunt tags.
It is going to be a busy fall. I mean, we have just deer season coming up too as well.
Oh, it is. Yeah, the main deer season opens on the 5th for our controlled hunts, and the 10th next month. Let me think. No, next month we've got archery starting on the 30th of this month, and then going all through the next month. We've got a lot of deer and elk rifle hunts still continuing in other areas they're not archery hunting. We're really looking forward to just a tremendous year. Antler growth out there has been really good. Some of the animals that have been harvested on these early hunts that I've been seeing are just tremendous animals. And what makes big antlers and for folks to hunt is like that is these mild winters. The deer don't deplete all their calcium reserves and for survival basically, and so that can go back into horn or antler growth on these animals. And we've got record numbers of deer for the last that we've had in the state for several years. As most of the West, we've had 5 real mild winters. 4 of those have been way above average fawn survival. I mean, like way above, typically 40 to 60%, and we've been pushing 80 to 100% fawn survival in some of these years. And so there's a lot of deer out there. So if you're interested in hunting or you're excited or you haven't done it for a while, it's a good year to get back out there and do it.
You know, it's a lot of meat when you're cooking it. It doesn't smell like it tastes, but with venison, it always has a sweet smell and I think a sweet taste.
I love venison. You know, every year I outfitted for lots of years before I started working for Fish and Game. So a person kind of, you know, hunting has been pretty much my entire life. Something, you know, I do it every year. I love it and enjoy it. And I keep saying, well, maybe this year I'll slow down on the deer hunting a little bit so I can go bird hunting just a little bit more. I'll take those days, but then every time I get thinking about it, I just think of how much I enjoy having a nice venison roast and some deer steaks, you know, all winter long. And so
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
say, well, okay, we won't bird hunt every day this year. We'll have to go out and go deer hunting for 3 or 4 days and try
Because a
to.
bird might feed you at most 2 days,
Yeah,
but
well, or a half a mil, but,
yeah.
you know, if you get your limit, maybe a couple of days, but you know, it's just something that I just really thoroughly enjoy is having a few really good deer meals, and so it's fun to get out with the kids too, and I'll always hunt as long as I've got kids at home and do that, but I do enjoy the bird hunting, and bird hunting is looking like it's going to be really good this year. Um, had really good chick survival from what we're kind of it's anecdotal what we're seeing, you know, it's just what people are seeing when they're in the field. We'll start doing our surveys a little later on, but it looks like it's really going to be a banner year for sportsmen.
You know, of course, one of the concerns, and we're only about a minute in this segment, we can maybe get back to this at a later time, but is that people don't go out and do as much hunting as they used to in the newer generations. And we're going to have overpopulation because of that. And we've really got to encourage people to take it up again.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of stuff we can talk about on that because I'm actually on a group trying um, to re-recruit former hunters in the state, you know, trying to get them active in it again. And so it's amazing to me how many hunting licenses and non-resident hunting licenses and just the number of how many different people have hunted over the years, but then how many of them drop out for 2 or 3 or 4 years for different reasons. And so, but yeah, we definitely would like to keep with the number of people that we have in the state of Idaho. We have to manage our populations of all animals, whether it's our game animals or prey animals. So
we've got more coming up with Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game in just a moment. Save your telephone calls. Remember that number is 736-0300. 736-0300. This is Top Story with Bill Colley on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Our studio guest, Kelton Hatch, he joins us on Thursdays about once a month. We kind of float the Thursdays.
We do, but it's typically about the third week.
Yeah, and that gives people an opportunity during the course of the broadcast, too. If you've got a comment or question for Kelton about some of the topics related to Idaho Fish and Game, you can give us a telephone call. That number is 736-0300, 736-0300. You're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Top Story with Bill Colley. And I reference that because a lot of people do have questions, it seems, about licensing and requirements and the like. And we have a caller with us directly out of the break. You're on the air at 924.
Good morning. I was wondering, to shoot rodents, do you have to have a hunting license?
If they're non-game animals, well, I guess I got to put this right. If they're on your private property and you're having issues with them, you can harvest them if you're going or shoot them. If you're going out into the desert and shoot non-game animals like, you know, ground squirrels or rock chucks or coyotes and things, you have to have a hunting license.
Okay.
I still recommend having a hunting license just because, you know, I mean, if you've got a firearm and there's that possibility, I mean, they're like $11, and so it's pretty cheap, safe protection in case you go off.
Well, I've tried to get a hunting license, and the first question that they asked me, since I haven't had one for 30 years, is I need your Social Security number. Now, the government advertises on the radio all the time, do not give your personal information to anybody, and Fish and Game is somebody, so I don't want to do that. Why can't you just take my driver's license number? I don't mind giving that to you.
We can. You don't have to give your Social Security number
Well,
anymore.
I was at Walmart. I went to your office in Jerome and Fish and Game, and first question is, I need your Social Security number since you're not in our system.
I thought they were done with the Social Security. I do know, sir, that I thought it had already been complete and they were given hunter ID numbers. I know we're in the process of starting just to give a random ID number because of that exact reason.
I want to
And
thank him.
so,
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Thank him for the call. And obviously, maybe he just needs to say, hey, I'll give you my driver's license instead.
Yeah, and he may be right on that. I know that there for a while we had to have the Social Security number in the system, but then they've been working on a deal for a randomized hunter ID number just for that reason. And so, because it is a concern, and we don't want to have somebody hack into our system and get people's information.
Right.
And so, but no, it's just best to get a hunting license.
We don't want the Chinese to know who's hunting in Idaho.
Yes. There you go.
We have another caller with us. You're on the air with Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game on KLIX.
Good morning. How are you folks this morning?
Really good.
Good. Hey, I have two short things. Number one, and I'm not going to give you my name because I'm embarrassed.
Don't ever be embarrassed. You're trying to learn here.
For the first time, I managed to draw for an elk tag.
Congratulations.
Well, yeah, and I missed it.
Oh, you missed the elk.
I missed going ahead and
purchasing your tag.
Yes. Life and a few funerals got in my way.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry about that.
Well, me too. But I figure there's another day. That is one of the things that I'm finding as a single female now.
Yes.
I used to have a husband that tracked all those kind of things. And I've really kind of wanted to get back into doing stuff, but I just don't know a lot of that stuff. Have you ever considered putting together some kind of a hunting for dummies? Getting,
that would help me.
Well, just things like how do you read the book and decide what zone you want to hunt in? There's a lot of that. Just I have a deer in the headlights look when I went in.
And I can completely understand that. What I would suggest for right now, we do have a Women in the Outdoors workshop that we do every year. It teaches basic shooting skills, GPS skills, field dressing, cooking. We did Dutch oven this year. Every year we have a different variety of classes. I've had years that we've taught the class where we actually prepare game birds. I purchased some farm-raised game birds. We butcher them, we clean them, and prepare them for the pan, and we cook them as part of the class, and then we sit down and we go through the regulations and things like that. Another thing you can do if you can't attend one of those women workshop classes, we do have some other workshops that we do periodically over the course of the year. You can usually pick those up on our Facebook page at Magic Valley Fish and Game. We have a Facebook page there, and when we have those classes, you can get it on there, or we have a Twitter account, or you can go onto our website and pick those classes up. Or I would just love to invite anybody or yourself to come over to our office and talk to us, because we will sit down one-on-one with people and try to explain the regulations and show you exactly how everything's laid out. I understand how complicated these are. I mean, I have to have a set of regs in front of me every time I go to talk to anybody about it. But just come over and give us a call.
Well, thank you for the telephone call, and we've got a break coming up. More with Kelton Hatch on the way. From Idaho Fish and Game, you're listening to News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com. Top story with Bill Colley. Quick warm-up this morning, up to 66. Our guest in studio, Kelton Hatch, is with Idaho Fish and Game. He joins us on a monthly basis and gives us a rundown of some things going on that you really need to know about if you plan to be out fishing or hunting. And of course, we had a great series over the summer with some free fishing days as well. And we've got another caller with us already. Do you want to take the telephone call next?
You bet. I love getting these calls because that's where we get to talk about what people want to.
Okay. Our caller is joining us on News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com on Top Story with Bill Colley. And, of course, Kelton Hatch again, our guest this morning. And you're up next.
Okay, thanks. Hey, I appreciate you guys taking our calls.
You bet. They're enjoyable.
listen, you said something about recruiting former hunters, and I think it's actually, well, it seems like it should be easy to recruit those former hunters. I know a lot of people who would come back to hunting if Virgil Moore, Sharon Kiefer, and I think Jim Unsworth moved on to other places of employment.
Okay. Jim has already moved on. He's now the director of Washington, but
That's right.
but what is your concern with them right now?
Well, Virgil Moore, obviously brought about the Wildlife Summit and did more to harm the relationship between hunters and
that was a tough deal, and Virgil is, and I
well,
don't know.
it was a tough deal, but the commission recognizes the fact that that Virgil Moore maybe is not the best person at the helm, but the commission allowed Virgil Moore to write a letter to the sportsmen and to everybody else saying how committed he is and how he would never do anything to harm, the relationship between IDFG and hunters and game stocks and stuff like that. But
all right. Okay. Okay. Other than filibustering, let's get an opportunity for our guest to respond. We could sit here for the next half hour and listen to that.
We could, and I understand the summit was. I think it was one of those attempts. Personally, I know that Virgil puts his heart and soul into the agency. I understand. I myself was. I went along with the summit, but I knew that there was going to be a lot of issues with that on there, and I think it was one of those attempts trying to figure out which way to go, and that one fell flat on its face. Let's just say it the way it is. It was a poor call, and I think all of us have poor calls in our life, and I think we can move on from that. And I know that Virgil's dedicated 110% of his life right now to improving hunting and fishing in Idaho, and we've got an incredible commission right now that is really working hard to make things better for Idaho too. And I really have seen an improvement. I've only been with the agency for 13 years, and in that 13 years, I really believe that we're headed in the right direction at this time. There was a lot of question in the direction of the agency earlier, and things are going a lot better, and I really anticipate good things for the future.
And I thank him for the call.
I do.
Obviously, you're in a position here. Good answer, I think, too, by the way. And I understand people out there that they do get annoyed, but I think you make a good point. Sometimes in government, when you're looking for a solution, you're going to try anything. Doesn't always mean it's the right thing. Yeah. And so, but as you say, sometimes you go back and say, all right, well, let's do this different.
Yeah. It's been a reset. I think that was a really turning point in the agency because there were so many people internally in the agency that was opposed to that, and people that were just really trying to figure out something, and anything was better than what we was doing. And we've learned a lot from that.
And they corrected it.
And they have corrected it, and I do know that, our goal is to provide the best opportunities we can for sportsmen while managing the wildlife in the state to perpetuate it for future generations.
We've got 2 more breaks ahead. We've got to talk still about the fairs going on. There was a big parade in Cassia County yesterday.
Yeah, big hoorah.
Yeah.
We've got a booth. The biggest reason I was going to talk about the fairs is we're at them. If you want to come and visit with us, we got staff on hand at the fair. So if you're at the Cassia County Fair, we're in the commercial building on the north side of the building. Come by. We'll have people manning the booth all the rest of this week. I've been over there the last 2 days. Some great people, some great comments and questions. Getting to talk to people, really like getting out and visiting to see what's going on with folks. I'm excited about hunting season because I get to go out and patrol and get to talk to sportsmen again. I'm not an officer, but I really like going out and talking to sportsmen to see what's going on with them, what they'd like to see changed, and so we can pass that information on. And then we'll be at the Twin Falls County Fair. We're going to have our CAP trailer, Citizens Against Poaching. We're going to be over by the main fair office, over by the free stage. Swing by and talk to us over there.
So some big news coming at the fairs, and obviously Q&A goes on there just as well.
Oh, it does. And the thing is, I love coming in and doing your radio show. We get some great comments, and I get a lot of comments from people in town that listen to it. But I really enjoy those one-on-one conversations where we can actually get to the nitty-gritty of things that people are thinking.
We got to talk a little bit more too about maybe hunting education. I know you've already gotten into a little bit of that with one of our earlier callers, and a couple of other things too. We're going to have to squeeze in here in the next couple of breaks.
You bet.
Moose and fishing roundup. That's on the way. Kelton Hatch, our studio guest from Idaho Fish and Game. It's 9:40. 67. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Our studio guest, Kelton Hatch, joining us on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And the telephone number is 736-0300. I do want to get back to some phone calls, but briefly, we got to touch on hunter education classes, right?
Well, and the thing that I'm going to say right now in the hunter ed classes, they're getting pretty scarce. If you see one online, make it work for you, because if you're looking for them now, the reason I say they're getting really scarce, we've had about 70 classes over the course of the summer across the Magic Valley, plus we have the online opportunities, and we'll be doing an online field day about every 2 weeks. But all our hunter ed instructors are volunteers, and guess what? They all hunt. And so this time of year when hunting season gets going, they're out in the field hunting, and so they get really scarce this time of year. But call us at the office or go on the Fish and Game website at fishandgame.idaho.gov. Click on the Hunter Education logo, and it'll tell you all the classes we have to offer.
We have another caller with us, and you're on the air at 9:44 on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.
Hey, morning, guys. I've been wanting to call you for a couple months now, Kelton. Hey, the thing I noticed the most is a lot of hawks this year. Maybe you've talked about this. I've been away from the radio a little bit, but have you guys seen an increased number of those, and how do you monitor them? And just curious about that. It seems like I see upwards of 20 a day sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes we see, there's a few of these fields out along the interstate that I've counted as many as 100 sitting in the field. There's a couple things that are going on right now. Number one, we have a migration going on. The birds are moving from the north down to the south. The Magic Valley just happens to be a major corridor for raptor migration. They migrate across the Cottrails to outside of outside of Burley and down through that area, and they come right here through the Magic Valley, and we get all types of raptors, hawks and owls and everything that are migrating through here. The other thing that we've got going on is a bumper crop of rodents. Lots and lots of voles, lots and lots of mice. You've been seeing that around your house?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what's happened is we're actually getting several double clutches of eggs, or we're getting just higher survival overall of the chicks. And because of that, we've had extremely high raptor mortalities along the interstates and things like that. We do some following of the raptors and things like that to try to monitor them. We've got one guy that's a non-game biologist, and I know that he's been doing some documentation of things, but a lot of it, again, here is an anecdotal, just visual seeing them. But those are the biggest reasons. We've seen a ton of the local birds, lots and lots of young all year long. And so that's why we're seeing more owls and hawks this year.
Want to thank him for the call. Other animals we're seeing more of, moose in Twin Falls just recently.
Yeah, and because of they're actually migrating across the state. We didn't have moose hardly at all. I moved here in the Magic Valley 13 years ago, and I know it's just really uncommon to ever hear of any. But our populations have increased so dramatically. We've got hunts going on over in 55, which is over by Burley. They started in 56, go to 55. Now we got them in 54. We've actually had some sightings of the crazy critters down there on the Jarbidge Bruno out in the Diamond A. That's really not moose habitat. It's high desert and stuff like that. But what's happening, we've just got a bulging population of moose, and as their populations increase, those moose start moving and taking up new habitats that are suitable for them. This year, we've just had a lot of moose in town. We tranquilized one about a week and a half ago over by the Twin Cinema 12 that's now closed down. It was out sleeping in the cemetery.
Not far from here.
Not far from here. I was going to tell you the story. I'll try to make it quick because it's kind of interesting. This moose, I was actually out on a walk in the morning, with my wife, and we saw a moose moving across our hayfields out there south of Kimberly. Well, then I called the officers. That moose bedded down on the edge of Kimberly. We went and put a dart in it. We hauled it to the end of Shoshone Basin, trying to relocate this cow moose. Put a little green ear tag in it because we used carfentanil on it, which is a drug that takes about 60 days to get out of a system. We didn't want somebody to accidentally shoot it, get drugged up, for if they had a legal permit for it. Well, this moose, 5 days later, ended up down by the Twin Cinema 12. So we finally got her to move back across, try to get a dart in her. She wouldn't let us. She went over by the sugar factory, hung around there for almost a week and a half, finally moved over to Oregon Trail subdivision over there by Kimberly, south of Kimberly, and hung out there for about 3 weeks. Got tired of the neighborhood and moved back to Twin Cinema 12. This time was able to sneak up on her and get a dart in her, and then we took her to Fish Creek above Cary, so it'll have a longer walk for her to get back to Twin Falls. We just don't like relocating moose multiple times. The reason we do that is because we don't want somebody to hit it and kill themselves. I mean, definitely we're trying to protect the moose also, but we're really trying to protect people. And this is like the 6th one we've had this year. The reason what happens is these cows have calves. This was a yearling, so it was last year's calf, and the mother kicked it off because I got a new baby. You can't hang around here. So it kicks off. They hit these corridors, these creeks that come out of the South Hills, and these different areas. They'll follow them down. They wake up in the morning, and they're setting in hay fields. They go, this is good stuff. Then they migrate a little bit, and they get in a neighborhood, and then they get in trouble.
We're going to have a few more minutes with Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game, but Mike Gallagher is coming up next in just a few seconds here on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com with Bill Colley, of course. And Gallagher brought to you exclusively by the financial advisors at Waddell & Reed in Twin Falls, 736-6563. We have to do a fishing update before we wrap up. That's on the way. Our guest wrapping up our program today, Kelton Hatch from Idaho Fish and Game. We've got about 4 minutes to go before we call it a day. And just quickly, Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Just a quick reminder, too, as well. Tomorrow I've got a guest right off the top of the show by the name of Phil Kent. He's the former chief of staff to then U.S. Senator Strom Thurmond, and he's written a couple of books about immigration in this country. He's going to be joining us tomorrow morning for about 15 minutes. And God willing, the creek don't rise, I'm back here between 8 and 10 tomorrow morning. Speaking of creeks rising, a fishing roundup, a bit of a fishing roundup before you wrap up today, Kelton.
And what I was going to say is, for those that don't like getting out and hunting, my fishing buddies, this is their favorite time of year because all the hunters have gone hunting and the true fishermen are only left on the lakes. And so right now is your guys' time to shine. So get out there and do some fishing. We're starting to see walleye really have been doing really well down at Salmon and down in Oakley for a while. As these evening temperatures continue cooling, we're going to continue to see better and better fishing. Because just the fall, Dog Creek and some of those areas out there do not fish good during the summer. But you start getting late into fall, you can start catching those tiger muskies, the channel cats. A lot of folks out fishing for even bass right now. The waters are still warm enough, but it's got them moving around to get a little bit cooler temperatures. And so just get out and have some fun fishing. The creeks are running clear and low right now. And so it makes it for easier fishing up in the mountains. And had some friends that were up in Copper Basin outside of Mackay the other day, just had a heyday catching fish. And so fishing is really starting to pick up.
I was going to say, when I was a kid, certain bass, species of bass, I can remember, unlike a fishy sort of a meat, it was almost in some cases like beef.
Yeah. You see, I guess I'm too Idaho. I'm not a warm water fish fan. Everybody says, "Oh, it tastes so good. It tastes like it tastes like nothing to me," because bass and crappie and walleye, they're so bland. They don't have any fish flavor. And I guess when I eat fish, I love salmonids. I love trout. I love salmon. I like things that taste like fish. That's why I choose to eat fish.
Trout being my all-time favorite fish.
And that's interesting because there's a lot of people that just, you get a walleye fillet. Yeah, it's got great texture. It's nice and firm, but it only tastes like whatever you put on it.
With trout, though, you can peel that skin right back after you cook it, and it just peels right off.
But my favorite way to have them is you scale them, and then you fry them with the skin on, and that skin turns into almost like a chip-like thing. And they're really flavorful. I like my fish cold. I like catching fish later in the year because trout do get a bad taste in the summer. When water gets warm, they'll get a mossy flavor to them. But if you catch them early in the spring, high mountain lakes, stuff like that, was just up in the Bighorn Crags and just caught a passel of cutties up in there. Fishing was just tremendous, and they're just delicious when they're coming out of ice cold water. No mossy flavor at all, and they're just really good. So get out there.
Spend a weekend.
Well, it is. That's one thing we're really, really blessed to live in Idaho, because if you enjoy the outdoors, you've got it at your fingertips.
Want to thank Kelton Hatch for coming by today. We'll see you again sometime in the middle of September.
Yes, you betcha. We'll schedule a time.
Got a lot of hunting talk coming up that month.
You betcha.
And in the meantime, Rush Limbaugh is coming up following the news at 10 o'clock from Fox. Sean Hannity following the news at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Glenn Beck following 4 o'clock news. Dave Ramsey tonight. Overnight, of course, Coast to Coast with George Norrie. We'll see you all again tomorrow morning right here on News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com.